Okay, we're here at the Queen mine, and we just came in this incline shaft that goes to the surface there around the corner to the right. And this is supposed to be a 300-foot long inclined shaft with about 3,000 feet of workings. And you can see some support timbers there with some colorful graffiti, sex, whatever. And there's some other stoping behind here going behind us. That's Jeff from OTG Exploring. He's here with me today, and we're checking this out. So we're gonna keep going down this way. It kind of opens up in here. You see that? So we're headed that way, but check this out. See these support timbers that are called stalls? Well, check this one out. It's holding up that fractured rock right there. See that? Let's keep going down the incline shaft. 300 feet to go. Well, here we have our first danger sign written with carbide there on the overhead. And that's where we're headed. Okay, you can see where we came in there, where the daylight is. We've come down about almost 100 feet to what we are calling the 100 level. And this is the first horizontal level off the incline shaft, and it goes that way. And let's go check it out. Okay, we are on the 100 level proper. We were up there, but that's like a sub-level that really didn't go anywhere, and it was kind of slippery. But this is much wider and a lot flatter, so this is probably the main 100 level. And this was just a stope they were working. That's a small little stope chamber there. See that? Doesn't really go anywhere. Oh yeah, there's some kind of pit up here. Oop, I just hit my head. Well, looks like it stopped here. They were going down there, but it's just a dead end. Okay, we're back at the main incline that we came down, right up there. Now we're going to head off to the left. This should be more extensive than what this level was to the right. Okay, just came from that way. That's back towards the main incline shaft. Now we have to crawl up and over this rubble pile and get into that chamber there. So Jeff's already up there. Let's go catch up. So we just came up through that opening, had to crawl up this rubble pile. Now we're in this big stope chamber. Check this out. Get some light up there. And it goes down over here to the right. And you can see up here there's a retaining wall up there where Jeff is. And we are now underneath another incline shaft that goes to the surface that was very near the one we actually came in. They were separated by about 200 feet. And we think this particular incline shaft is probably the main one because it gets pretty big, opens up. There's some tunnels down there that we're going to check out, and this big chamber. So back when these mines were more easily accessible, if you know what I mean, a lot of people used to come in here to party. And you can see a lot of the graffiti here, AC/DC, Pink Floyd, Billy, and Muff. And over here, Party Till You Puke. And then the yin-yang symbol. But we're going to continue straight ahead here. Party Cave. Okay, so we just came down there from where my light is to the left, and there's a pit here. It goes down about 10 or 12 feet. We don't know if there's another way down there. There's a pink arrow down there, obviously pointing to an exit. So we think there might be a way to get down there. If we continue down this level, we might find a ladder going down to that level. So we're going to continue that way. Okay, we just came from that way. We're making our way down this drift tunnel. This one's pretty easy to walk through. It's not full of rubble like all the other ones have been. Kind of curving here to the right. Yeah, we're finding this mine to be very confusing in its layout.
I think this goes to the pit.
Wow, look at this up here. Some major stuff here.
And here's another exit.
Another exit up there?
Yeah, there's daylight. Okay.
Well, this looks like a main incline shaft. It's got timbering and everything.
Yeah, this looks like it goes to the pit.
Well, we've come through some drift tunnels and find ourselves in another incline shaft that goes to the surface. See it up there? This one looks pretty well defined. It's got cross ties in it and a lot of timbering right here. This was a major collapse here in the stope. See this? The stope fell apart. The overhead came down and smashed these support timbers in the incline shaft here. See that right there? Where my light is, it's pretty fractured. There was a chute right there. See that chute coming down? They would have parked an ore cart coming up the shaft right here, and then they would have shoveled rubble and ore from this stope above the shaft down that chute right there where my light is, and that would fall into the ore cart, and then the hoisting mechanism outside the shaft would have hauled it all the way up there to where you see daylight. And once again, these dots that you see right there, those are miners' dots. Every dot represents an ore cart full of ore. That's how they kept track. We see these all the times in abandoned mines. Kind of a crude record-keeping system, but that's how they did it. So we're going to keep going down here. Okay, I'm continuing my way down the shaft and looking up here. Here's this ore chute I just pointed out. It's plugged with rubble. And then over here, a miner took his carbide light and drew a figure of a woman, maybe his girlfriend or his mother or a favorite teacher. But anyway, we see these kinds of drawings a lot in these abandoned mines, and some of them get quite risque. That one's not too bad. But anyway, yeah, we're headed down that way. Let's keep going. Okay, looking back up the incline shaft, I'm coming down. This was kind of a cool shot. You can see the daylight kind of glowing over that collapsed rubble that we just crossed over in that real dangerous section. See that? Looks kind of nice. Okay, we just climbed up. That's the bottom of the incline shaft where my light is there. We came through that arch, and then we climbed up those boards right there where my light is, kind of on an incline there. And we came up this right here. There's a ladder there, but there's only 2 rungs on it. We sort of had to use the rocks there as footholds and got up here to this level. It goes off that way. Lots of really cool graffiti, miners graffiti and more modern teenager graffiti, and the tunnel goes this way. So let's check it out. And right here, the miners drew like a window frame, like a window with curtains, and there's a woman looking in through the glass. I think that's a woman. It looks like it in the camera. Maybe not. Or just flowers. Oh, it's a flower pot. That's what it is. But yeah, they drew a window. I never saw a window as part of a miner's graffiti. And somebody put a white X on it. Jeez. So more miner's graffiti of naked ladies. And then in red is this more modern Fred Flintstone. But yeah, that's original miner's carbide graffiti. And we're headed this way. Look at that long, straight tunnel. Wow, that just goes forever. It's just a bunch of metal wire. Definitely looks creepy from a distance. You can see the cross ties are still in place where the ore cart tracks used to be. No, it turns to the left. And it goes down. Well, the tunnel turns to the left here and goes down pretty far. Yeah, we're feeling lots of airflow coming through here. There are many mines all over this mountain, so they probably all interconnect at some point underground. So we're probably making our way into a different mine than the one we came in. Yeah, we got some timbers up here and some ladders. A little bit of square set timbering, kind of. So that goes that way. And there's a chute and a ladder going up there.
Oh, shit.
Okay, we're taking the tunnel to the right at that junction we were just at. We'll see where this goes. And if it dead ends, we'll go back and go the other way. Wow, this is amazing. This mine is extensive. Not sure if that goes anywhere. Here's some more graffiti from 1996. Yeah, back when these mines were still open in the 80s, 90s, a lot of kids came in here to party. And that's what you're seeing, all this graffiti. And this looks like it's backfilled. Oh, another animal skeleton right there. Look at that. Probably another rabbit, maybe, I don't know. Jeez, that's the second one we've seen down here. There's one more up here too, on the right where my light is there. So we came back to the junction and took the left branch and found ourselves, the tunnel continues forward. There's an ore chute up there, but right here is a ladder that goes up, and there's a stoped area up there. And somebody wrote right here, next to the ladder at the bottom, goes to an exit right there in black ink. But we believe that all the entrances to these various mines are all secured with bat gates. So if we did go up that way, we wouldn't be able to get out. Back in the day when these were wide open, yeah, you could go up there and make your way out and come out somewhere else on the mountain, but not so much anymore. But Jeff's thinking about going up there and seeing where it goes. I'm not going to go up there. He'll probably come to an exit, but it'll be barricaded. But it's good to know that, you know, that it does go to an exit, like it, just to confirm that. Yeah, that ladder is really solid. It's nailed in place at the bottom and at the top, and you can't even move it. Okay, he's gonna go check that out. Shouldn't take him too long. And then when he comes back, we're gonna continue straight ahead. But it looks like it might end up there. We'll find out. Okay, we're back at this junction right here where my light is, and we just explored that drift tunnel that goes off that way. So now we're back, and we're gonna take this drift tunnel that goes the opposite direction. And Lots of boulders in here. And then something goes up there.
Goes up into a stope and there's a bunch of stalls. But it looks like it keeps going.
Yeah, lots of rock fall everywhere. Here's one of these muck plates here on the right, piece of metal. They put that down on the ground when they blast so the rubble falls onto that so it's easier to shovel. Or sometimes they would just drag the piece of metal out of the tunnel with the rocks on it. Okay, some big timbers up here. Let's go check it out. Okay, so the tunnel continues there, but we have a downward sloping tunnel here and then some stope action. We can probably access the stopes back this way, and we just came from that way. So we got to decide what we're going to do here. Instead of going that way first, we're going to check this downward sloping tunnel right here in front of me. Yeah, this mine is, oh, it's more than one mine. We've discovered that we've been in about 3 mines total. They're all connected underground, basically, for the most part. Got some an old oil can here, and then an old spool, probably for fuse cord right there, and a big piece of lumber. Yeah, we see on the timber there it says DE with an arrow. We think that means dead end. Somebody was here before us and marked all the dead ends, but sometimes we found those to be inaccurate sometimes, especially when they say exit, and then there is no exit. Robert loves Anne. Well, continuing down this incline tunnel, we're almost at the bottom. Yeah, lots of sparkly stuff right there where my light is. Look at that. I'm not sure what that is. These were gold mines, so I don't know. That's backfilled. And there's a big ore chute up here on the left. And a big ore chute up on the right. As usual, it's plugged. Look at all this heavy timbering. They plug up the stope with those big bores to keep rocks from falling down, then they stick an ore chute in so they can control the flow of the rocks. And it keeps going. Looks like another ore chute up here. So here's the third and final ore chute, and the tunnel faces out right here. Yeah, there's a huge stope above us that they were working. And again, this one's also plugged up with debris. That's it.
That's it, huh?
So we just came out of that incline tunnel right there where my light is. We're back at this big junction. And now we're going to head down there. See that tunnel in the distance? Okay, so we're heading down this other drift tunnel. Probably going to be a dead end, but we don't know how far it goes or what's down here. Oh, got a ladder here on the right. Might be climbable. Oh yeah. Looks like it stops down. Let me go down here and check this out real quick. I think it's a dead end. Yeah. That just faces out right there. So we got a ladder here that goes up into the stopes. Okay, I climbed up into the stope trying to track down Jeff. This is like another level up here. Look at that stope chamber. Pretty big. But a lot of support timbers here. I saw Jeff's light up here about a minute ago. Yeah, sometimes when you crawl up into these stopes, you find these intermediate levels like this, and you never know what you'll find up here. For instance, all this timbering. Wow, look at this timbering up here. Jeff and I climbed up into this huge stope from down there, and let me show you how big this is. It's not going to come out on video very well, but yeah, that's looking up at the ceiling, and then it goes back that way behind me, and through here, this little opening, you can see more stopes. And right there where my light is, that drops down pretty far. And then Jeff said beyond that tunnel in the distance, he said that one drops off exceptionally deep. So yeah, we're in the stopes now. We were on the drift levels off the incline shaft, but we've climbed up into these enormous stopes. And yeah, these are pretty impressive. You can see the different colors there.